Welcome to the Wake Up Call for the Soul podcast with Bill and Claire, where we go deep and wide on subjects intended to support our awakening to greater truth, beauty, goodness, freedom, joy, peace, harmony, and love. In this episode, Bill and Claire continue their conversation about faith.
I don't know. I just keep going back to current events and things. I keep thinking like me, I don't know if I'm looking for direction because that idea of faith is coming back up of like who do I turn to? What
Mm-hmm.
do I do? I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure what I'm asking, but that's kind
Okay.
of what's popping up. Yeah.
Okay. That's totally fair. All right. So I'll say a little bit about what my sense of what you're talking about there is.
Okay.
Okay, so then faith, and I think what you're talking about is faith in a very practical sense. I am in a harsh world with all kinds of awfulness going on. Who and what should I place my faith in?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I will do this in a particular order. So for me, and I think this is, I'm not here yet, but I think this is where I aspire to be. So I'm not going to claim that I'm here, but I will express this as aspiration for myself, and maybe it will resonate or make sense to other people, hopefully to you, but Claire, but we'll
Yeah.
see. Okay. All right. So for me, that the primary one in whom I am interested in having faith in their ability to continue responding is source, like I said before.
hmm
So I consider my ultimate faith to be in source, that source created everyone and everything in existence. I'm not talking about the stuff that's part of the fabricated world of human invention. I'm talking about the vastness of creation, the earth herself, humanity, not all these other ideas that people think are real that have no actual reality or ultimate reality to them. So my first place to put faith is source. Then, and this is kind of a toss up now that I'm thinking about it. So I don't know what, no, I'm not going to go in sequence here because I don't know if there is a sequence. And ultimately, I have this sort of mystical unified vision of all of isness. So it probably doesn't matter. So I'll go to this level next. Not that it's better or whatever. I think it's very much linked to the other level I'm going to mention. So the other one that I deeply desire to have faith in is in myself.
hmm
Myself as a being created in the likeness of Source with this infinite potential for growth and development, healing, change, contribution. I desire to put my faith in myself, in this unique expression of individuality that has this name and uses this body at this point. And then the other area that I'm really most interested in putting my faith is, I'll call it creation. So the universe, the multiverse, the omniverse, everything that Source has created, I deeply desire to put my faith in that. So, because this is one of the questions, it's a really fundamental question of existence. I've heard it described this way. Is the universe friendly or not? Right?
hmm
And I've heard some people say some famous person, I don't know if these attributions are true, some famous person supposedly said that the most important question you can ask is this a friendly universe? Um, and I do think that's a super important question. And I desire to have my faith in Source, in myself as a unique individual, in the image of Source, and also in all that the Source has brought into existence, meaning all of the energies, all of the material, all of the laws and principles and frameworks and systems and flows that constitute the multi-dimensional vastness of this awesome everythingness.
hmm
So those are the places that I desire to put my faith in. And when I think about, you have this in the context of current events. So when I look at these current events on our beautiful, tiny little planet in this awesome galaxy of billions of galaxies.
Hmm.
I am doing my best to place my faith in source, in myself, and in all of creation as I contemplate these very temporary circumstances that are shown on social media feeds and on broadcast uh, media, news outlets, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing my best to put my faith in, and and I guess part of that faith is the understanding, the perception that everything that exists is working toward greater harmony, greater love and light and goodness and truth and beauty, and that goes for the earth. It's just our planetary situation is this really mixed bag right now. And my trust, my faith is that source and everything that makes the universe work the way it does, and even myself and other people who deeply desire these things, that we can, by having faith in all of these people, beings, realities, that we come out on the other side of this. Not to say that it
Hmm.
isn't, that it's going to be pretty all the way through, because human resistance through free will is an absolute thing. So people can resist, and there can be all kinds of ugliness and awfulness between here and there. And I'm doing my best to keep my vision focused on where we are headed, not where we've been, not where we are. That these things are leading to what feels to me an inevitable outcome.
Right. Okay. Would you say that because you're with your experiences of um, feeling like you receive an answer in the moment, would you say that it makes it easier for you to put your faith in these things because you can feel something versus someone who doesn't have that experience when they pray or meditate or reach out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and that's why I'm so interested in helping, leading people to have their own experiences so that they don't have to take anyone's word for it, so that they don't have to
Hmm.
take someone's word for it from thousands of years ago, so that they don't have to consult with a religious text and say, oh, well, I have faith in this religious text that I feel came from what I would call source. Right. I I feel that I'm able to be that way in this world because of what I have experienced and received so far. And if I've experienced and received all of these gifts and blessings, all of this awesomeness up to this point, it just doesn't make sense to me that source is going to turn the faucet off. Like,
Hmm.
oh, no more for you. You've met your quota. That's a very human thing to do. I don't see source doing that kind of thing with me or anyone else. So yeah, I think that I have been particularly blessed with these experiences and these perceptions that help me to know that there's real awesomeness on the other side of the present awfulness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to be special. I want everyone, I know other people. I'm not that special. We're all doing our best here. I want to invite people to consider the possibility that they can experience these things for themselves, that they can know them. And it's not a one-shot deal. It's not like, oh, I pray a single prayer and everything's all taken care of. That's why I call what I do a practice, because I'm doing it over and over and over again. And I continue to receive benefits directly and indirectly from my practice. And so that's what I'm inviting people to in my own way, with what I would consider to be a fairly, uh, from my material mind's perspective, pretty unsuccessful. Yeah, I'll call it a fairly low apparent success rate so far. But again, I have hope. Something I do somewhere will help. And again, we're dealing with eternity here. So even if someone doesn't get it in this life, they've got eternity for something to click to be like, hey, maybe he was onto something. Him and the 200 other people who said something like it. Yeah, so I consider a lot of what I'm doing planting seeds. And for quite a while, I would get really frustrated and impatient. I still have that to an extent, but it's really mellowed over the years to where I realize my job is to do my best to scatter seeds in the hopes that at some point they will take root, that some way, somehow, that these things will enter into people's awareness and into their experience in a way that then they can have their own perceptions, their own experiences in their own lives, so that they don't have to take anyone's word for it,
Right, right.
least of all mine.
Yeah, I think that's a very beautiful goal, very worthwhile. I think ultimately, like, that's what I want for other people too, and for myself. I would love to be able to experience some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So much of what people are going for with all of these various distractions that exist in the world as we've constructed it up to this point, that so many of these experiences that they're very subtle.
Mm,
They, I mean, sometimes you get something that's wow. Like even this prayer I had before we got together here. What was going on in my brain? I've experienced similar things before, but I was just really surprised uh, that it was happening again. And so I know that Spirit is working on my brain and doing what they're doing there. And I'm very grateful for that. Even though I don't know exactly what they're doing, I definitely have a sense they're doing something up there.
hmm.
Um, yeah, and for people to have not just those kinds of experiences, but to have that deep sense that they are loved and accepted as they are, that they don't need to do anything to be worthy of what Source desires to give, that because they are children of the Source, they are heirs of the Source, that they are able to receive everything that Source desires for them to have if they're willing to desire it. And Source being Source does not mess with people's free will. So if people in their own ways make it clear through arrogance or ignorance or some other approach to life that they don't want what Source has to give, then Source does not give it. Uh, Source continually offers it. There's always the invitation. But the beautiful thing about an invitation is that an invitation, a true one, always recognizes the ability of people to choose whether to accept the invitation or not.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, so I see what I'm doing in its own way as this invitation too. And maybe sometimes it's not so kind and gentle or subtle. But um, it's what I aspire to, but hopefully a little bit of spiciness isn't going to hurt anything here.
Right.
Yeah, but that I guess another thing coming up just from this question that you asked of, well, who or what do I put my faith in? I mean, the things I said, I believe that they're very different from what the fabricated world would tell you you should put your faith in. Fabricated world says to put your faith in your intellect. It says to put your faith in the systems that have been created for your benefit. We could list many of them. You're to put your faith in authority, whether it is political, religious, social, doesn't matter. Put your faith in distraction. Put your faith in your ability to ignore or not to pay attention. Um, yeah. So I feel like those three aspects of all of the isness that I'm doing my best to put my faith in, but that's not where the world will typically tell people to put their faith. They say, put your
Yeah.
faith in me, a limited human being with
Hmm.
a, with a some type of platform where, you get my perspective, and if you go with my perspective, you're going to be okay. It's like, if it's a human perspective, it's not going to be okay
Mm.
because a human perspective is inherently limited. No, it can't do the work of a perspective that is aspiring to be rooted in divinity, within the wholeness of being, within love, not based on these mental constructs and these polarities and these dualities, all of these limitations and beliefs, ideas of what is or isn't real.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You were talking about more things like that we're capable of, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
faith in ourselves to, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
divinity in ourselves. And I was wondering if that has any connection to manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely does, because manifestation to me is the bringing into existence that which was potential. So, so much of what is desiring to come into this existence from, I'll use Deepak Chopra's phrase, I think he calls it pure potentiality.
Hmm.
So, what desires to come in through that, it requires human beings with the capability of bringing these things through. So, for me, and so this is something that I've come to more of an understanding with the Soul Manifestation series that I'm doing with my friend Elizabeth Trask, where I used to think of things, what in Christian terms would be called spiritual gifts, what people might call psychic gifts or clairs, or I'll use a more general phrase, like let's call them beneficial potentials. So much of what we deeply desire to experience within us and through us, it requires our development as unique beings, as individual instruments, as channels through whom these things can come into existence. And the way that these things come into existence, one way or another, is through our, it's through the development of our beneficial potentials.
Mm.
So, and these beneficial potentials, they are infinite in their expressions. And every person on this planet and on every planet throughout the omniverse, and even those who are in spirit throughout the omniverse, each and all of these beings has a unique constellation of beneficial potentials. And so, as these potentials are developed within individual beings, then more and more realities, energies, essences can flow through that individual's instrumentality, their unique channel, and come into beingness. And they can take
Mm.
the form of perceptions, feelings, means or modes of expression, actual manifestations, uh, awarenesses, knowings, and also, yeah, I guess I'll just say manifestations, the that actual things that can be perceived through a range of perceptions of sensory organs, whether they are material or spiritual, that these things can come into reality in a way that can be perceived, can be enjoyed. So absolutely. And that's the thing. We, on the earth at this point, we have in potential everything that we need to solve every problem on the planet, to turn this whole thing around, But because so few of us are reaching to Source, saying, Source, thank you for helping me to develop my beneficial potentials, so few of them are being manifested on this planet at this time.
Mm,
If they were manifested more significantly in a larger portion of the human population in greater diversity, there would be no lack, no limitation in terms of what would be possible.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Mm,
exist within people. It's like that metaphor of the seeds. They exist within people like seeds, but they need the sources, love, light, essence, living waters, whatever one wants to call that which comes from source, to come in to remove that which is preventing them from germinating in their fullness and also
right.
to develop them. So it's like the source offers everything the seed needs: the water, the sun, the soil, and the weeding that would allow these things to bloom in the fullness of their potentiality. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And all of us on this planet we're all just scratching the surface. Every single one of us. We're just barely, even people who appear to have a ridiculous number of what are called psychic or spiritual gifts. These are, again, yeah, it's tip of the iceberg. Pick your metaphor.
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, imagine a world where people are allowing the power, the essence of the source to work through them for the benefit of all, not just for people, for the planet, for the animals, for the plants, the rocks, the minerals, the air, the waters, every aspect of creation. And shoot, not even just on this planet. These beneficial potentials have the ability, the potential to provide help throughout the omniverse, because the omniverse is a whole. It is an undivided, unbroken whole. And so these things have the potential to create benefits and blessings regardless of things we consider to be time and space.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing some more of those expressions of beneficial potentials in my lifetime before I transition to spirit. Of course, I'll be able
yeah.
to see it all from spirit, but I'd like to be embodied for some of this awesomeness that's coming.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think about my reality, the lenses that I see stuff through, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting to have even this inkling of a perception in terms of what's possible. Even for myself, I'm using these words and I'm only in perception of point one, 0.00001 of what is actually possible. And I'm still super excited about that tiny little percentage of potentiality.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And those faiths, the faith in all that is, in the source, in ourselves, they're all connected. Ultimately, that faith, I think, in its fullest expression, it encompasses all of it simultaneously. It recognizes the oneness, the interconnection, the relatedness between ourselves and creation and source, that all of these are, they are fundamentally one. I created three linguistic or conceptual distinctions, but the truth of it is that all of this is intended to be one. We are not intended to exist in a reality where separation is the norm.
Mm,
We're supposed to be in a reality where our perceptions of unity, of wholeness, of life, and reciprocity are supposed to be at the forefront.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been feeling that lately, the separation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so that's why, and, with me and my practice, that's why I go to Source, because with Source, the more that I commune with Source, the more that I seek to become at one with Source, to overcome all of the false and temporary limitations, barriers, and blockages within myself, then I get to experience more of this wholeness, more of this unity, more unity within myself, where my parts are not separated from each other, where there are not judgments about what is good about me and what is bad about me, where all of my isness is wrapped in acceptance. And the same thing with creation, that I don't separate and judge aspects of creation, that I seek to experience creation in its wholeness, in its unity, and enjoy the flows of mutuality and reciprocity that exist within all of these layers of the cosmos, and even to experience my unity, my oneness with Source, that I experience myself not as separate from Source, but that I can progressively experience myself as being ever more at one with Source, the more that
Mm,
I participate in the Source's essence within the fundamental beingness of Source. As I desire that, I experience more of it, and therefore I experience more of that unity with Source, which translates to more unity with all of my parts and aspects, with all of creation, so that eventually, my end game is that I'm one with everything, not as an amorphous blob, but as a unique awareness that has the capacity to live and play in harmony with all that
mm,
is.
yeah, I like
That
that.
that's my end game. It's what I'm going for, and it's what I'm inviting everyone to it. I would love to for more of us to play this game, to aspire to play this game better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Any last words
It sounds ominous. No.
for the podcast for today's episode, or I guess what would be, yeah, for well today. Hopefully, if this all goes well, I typically split them into two. So, last words for this two episode segment of the Wake Up Call for the Soul podcast.
Just that I'm thankful once again for the conversation. You always have unique perspectives, and I'm definitely going to have to think about some of the things you said. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we're going to talk about next time, too.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I love our conversations. I think you're awesome. Your curiosity and openness and willingness to have these conversations, it's so refreshing to me. Uh, in a world where there's so much hardness and harshness, where people's perspectives are so fixed and rigid right now.
Hmm.
I think you were alluding to some of that in your earlier comments. Your openness, your receptivity, your willingness to consider things that you may not have considered before. I consider that a supreme gift and blessing for me, and so I am very grateful for who you are and for your participation in this project. And I do continue to have great hopes that we'll eventually reach uh, even more people in ways that might inspire them to consider new and different possibilities for their own lives, their own existence, so that they can be more of who they deeply desire to be and contribute more of what they deeply desire to bring into to use your word, to manifest uh, in this world through their lives, through their unique beingness.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Call for the Soul with Bill and Claire. Until next time.